everyone. Have you ever wondered why companies are moving away from the traditional databases? What is so special about this new database that has come up in the market called as MongoDB? Well, here we are going to see those particular statistics that talks about your MongoDB. So let's explore into it. Let's talk about what is most important about your MongoDB. So if I talk about your MongoDB, it is one of the most rapidly getting adopted database. Currently, it has almost around 30 million downloads and 3 lakh plus million users worldwide using the MongoDB. If I talk about the companies, Fortune 500 companies, a majority of the Fortune 500 companies are now using MongoDB as their backbone for the applications, whether it's a platform related to healthcare or e-commerce or insurance, everywhere it's currently being used. So these are some of the leading organizations that are currently relying on the MongoDB for their database. Why MongoDB stands out as compared to your traditional databases? Because if I talk about the performance of your MongoDB, the MongoDB gives you 10 times better performance as compared to your traditional databases. It gives you real-time processing wherein you can get a real-time analytics and quick insights being generated from the data. Now let's talk about the market capitalization of your MongoDB or of your NoSQL databases. So when we talk about NoSQL databases globally, they are going to enjoy a growth of around 22% by the year 2025. That is almost around 14 million of growth. If I talk about what exactly will be the future of MongoDB, so with 200 million annual revenue already being generated and a robust ecosystem supporting your MongoDB is expected to be a database market leader in the years that are to come. Let's understand some statistics wherein we are performing a comparison between your MongoDB and the traditional databases. So who is faster? When I'm going to query my database, who is faster? Is it MongoDB or MySQL databases? So comparatively, if you see, MongoDB gives you the response in 20 milliseconds as compared to your SQL, which gives you a response in 200 milliseconds. If I talk about the scalability, your MongoDB can be easily scaled horizontally, wherein you don't have to load a single machine with too much of the data. We can have a clusters of machines created together to develop the application. Whereas if I talk about your traditional SQL databases, mostly they will be scaling vertically, putting too much of a load on a single machine and thereby actually affecting their performance. If I talk about the time it is needed to develop applications using MongoDB, if I say around 3 to 4 weeks of time is more than sufficient if you want to develop a full-fledged database using MongoDB. But for SQL, since the schema development and everything will be required first and then you go about developing the actual work here, it will require somewhere around 6 to 8 weeks to do the same thing here. What is the expected CAGR for it? That is my compound annual growth rate for both the tools here. So NoSQL databases are expected to grow by 22% by the year 2025, whereas SQL will see the growth, but that will be marginally very low compared to your MongoDB or NoSQL databases. What exactly is the percentage of companies who have already adapted MongoDB as compared to the companies who are adapting SQL? So as you can see in this graph, NoSQL databases in which we are including MongoDB, 40% of the companies are currently using MongoDB, whereas 60% of the companies are still using traditional database. But this percentage is gradually reducing and companies are moving towards MongoDB because of its flexibility. If I talk about the change in the schema is the structure in which my data has to be designed. MongoDB is a semi-structured data. So here we have a very easy flexibility available wherein we can change the data very easily. So if I talk about your MongoDB is minimal, complex, very flexible to change. So hardly 2 to 3 days are required to make the changes. Whereas if I talk about your traditional database, it's very complex. The schema design has to be changed with all the relationship mapping happening in my schema. It takes somewhere around 1 to 3 weeks to actually make the changes. When we talk about the overall cost which I'm going to spend if I'm going to work with MongoDB or with my SQL databases, so MongoDB is going to cost you somewhere around $50,000 as compared to your traditional databases, which will actually vary. For traditional databases, the cost vary from vendor to vendor, but approximately somewhere around $1,20,000 will be incorporated in a cost format here. How many current active users are using MongoDB? So almost around 15,000 plus active contributors are there who are contributing to the overall growth of your MongoDB. If I talk about your traditional databases are very specific to the vendors like Oracle, Microsoft, or your IBM. So here the growth is comparatively for those vendors as compared to the actual contributors in it. Let's talk about now what exactly is the amount of the data that both my MongoDB and my SQL databases can handle. If I talk about your MongoDB can continue to give you the same performance even with the huge amount of data, even if you keep on increasing TBs and PBs of my data. But your SQL databases will see a degradation in performance as soon as the data is reaching almost around 10 to 15 TB. So my customers or my developers are happy using what? So if I talk about the rating that has been given by the developers for both of them, MongoDB has almost got the rating of 8.5 as compared to your traditional databases where the rating is 6.5. Who is using this MongoDB? So as you can see, Adobe has already moved to the MongoDB and has almost moved entire database of its on the MongoDB, thereby reducing 90% of the time on the data management. Whereas Cisco's almost around every device connectivity and everything is being now managed using the MongoDB tools here. AI is very rapidly getting adopted in my MongoDB, and we are going to see a rapid growth in MongoDB development because AI is one of the foremost technology that has been developed now. Almost around 80% of my data that will be there in year 2025 is expected to be unstructured, which cannot be supported by your traditional databases. For that, we need a tool like a MongoDB. So here in the world where my data is the king, we need to understand, we need to make a choice like what exactly I want. As it is expected in the year 2025 that almost around 80% of the data will be unstructured, and your MongoDB supports every type of the data, whether it's your structured, semi-structured or unstructured. So now you have to ask the question to yourself, what exactly is your data going to be like? And based on that, you can make a decision, what do you want to use in your application, whether it's your traditional databases, which gives you a very slow performance, or MongoDB, which is the upcoming trend in the market. I hope this session was been helpful to you. Thank you, everyone.
From Itvedant, visit the link below to schedule a free one-on-one counseling session at your nearest Itvedant center. Do like, share, and subscribe to our channel.